Yo, yo, yo. Well, you'd think with a background like this, carp angle's changed to cod angle, but it hasn't. Don't worry, we're not going sea fishing today. We are at one of the most famous reservoirs in northern France, or probably in France itself to be fair, the famous Lac du Shanty. Now it is an absolutely enormous slap of water and somewhere I've always fancied fishing. I used to work just up the road from here at Dream Lakes, and I only actually visited it once in those 2 years that I worked there. And obviously that wasn't to fish, that was just for a little walk around. Well, not right around, take about a week. But yeah, it was a bucket list thing, if you like, sort of one of them things. One day I'd like to go and experience that. And it is very different to all our kind of normal English fishing. And obviously it requires a fair bit more equipment. But yeah, Gav Rayner rang me up about 6 weeks ago and he said to me, Joe, I've got a cancellation on Shanty. How do you fancy joining me? And obviously I bit his hand off at the chance. So here we are. We got here last night, just as the sun was setting, had a bite to eat in the cafe, and then chucked our beds up last night. Didn't get a best night's sleep because all this noise going on from these boats ding, 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 dinging all night, and had a coffee a little bit too late in the evening as well. However, we're fully charged up this morning. The only problem is it does look like it's going to tip down, and the weather forecast has confirmed that too. And the other problem, which I am a little bit scared about, I won't lie, is the swim we've got is 1.5 miles away from where we're launching the boats. And although it might seem a little bit, you know, calm in the old marina here, it's not out there. It's like the North Sea. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie all 3 boats together. Gav's going to drive. And then that obviously allows me to do a bit of filming on the way. It's nothing to do with the fact that I'm not a competent boat driver at all. But yeah, that's the plan for now. We've got to get the boats loaded up. Gav's been busy pumping them up. We've got an absolute ton of gear to get over there. And as I say, we want to try and do it without getting too wet, but sounds like that's going to be unlikely. So yeah, once we're over there and settled, we'll catch up again. But wish us luck, hopefully we'll make it. Or maybe this will be the last video that I ever film. Right, see you on the flip side. There we go, 3 fully laden boats ready to rock. Just got to go and get the tickets, sort that out, and then out through that gap there, across the ocean, and get set up. Yeehaw. Right, well, I've just seen 2 different lots of French guys come in on their boat, so they managed to cross safely. Let's hope we can too. I've not had the best news for arriving at a lake because apparently there's been a few boats go missing in the last week or so. Last night some guys emptied out the guy's boat, you know, the motor, the echo sounder, everything else, and made off with it. So yeah, we have to be a little bit careful by the sounds of it. Yeah, it's not what you want, is it? Imagine that. You get up in the middle of the night to get a fish and your boat's gone. So Gav said, yeah, just going to go and get some rope. We keep an eye on that boat, Joe. Joe gets distracted. Gav comes back. It's like, oh yeah, what about that boat, Joe? Gav to the rescue.
Right, Joe, I need you to start digging out that battery. 40%.
We're about halfway across, maybe not even halfway, and we're 40% on the battery because we've got so much weight that we're towing here. So, what are you saying, Gav? This is a bit dodgy.
Squeaky bum time.
Big old waves in front of us. That chop's really picked up, isn't it, since we've come out here? Whoa, Jesus, it's like the North Sea out here. Waves. 5%. Warning, 5%. We are nearly there though. It's quite carpy though, Gav, doesn't it?
Sure does, mate.
Pretty CAF. Yeah, so these are these stumps I was talking
I don't know
about.
how.
Sorry mate, go on.
It actually looks quite shallow there, doesn't it? I don't know if it drops deep down. You want to get out there and start trying to walk, and then it being a lot deeper than you think.
Yeah! Wow, what a lake. It's huge. It's very muddy. It's one of the things you notice from that old video, Ton Up at Lac du Deux. I had a lot of respect for them guys going through that. And it always kind of, one of the things that was putting me off coming to this place was it just looked like massively hard work in and out of this mud. And yeah, plenty of sticky mud has welcomed us at our spot. But yeah, this is our sort of area just to the left here, and then a bit further around there's a couple of boats there. That's our next door neighbours. Then we will actually have another set of anglers just to the side of this bit here. But yeah, still plenty of water. And like I say, because we've got this big spit sticking out, it sort of creates quite a good feature, fairly close in. So the drop off of that should be well worth investigating. And this weather that's sort of come in the last day or two has it's quite different to what they've been experiencing out here lately. So hopefully that will sort of be the catalyst for some feeding, because it sounds like it hasn't been fishing very well lately. But sometimes that's not always a bad thing, is it? And like I say, with a new weather front like this, then sort of thing that could turn them on. Anyway, I'm not going to do any more on the GoPro for now, because obviously the sound's probably not that great and we need to get cracking on. So yeah, I'll get my proper camera set up. We'll get a little base camp on the go and then catch up in a bit. Whew. What a pit. It's bloody huge, it is. Now, I'm not going to lie, I am someone that does next to no exercise, to be honest with you. Yeah, embarrassingly so. I need to pull my finger out, but yeah, so walking that 30 yards from them boats to here with all that kit, back and forth through that clay. I feel like He-Man now. I don't think I will tomorrow though. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of them kind of sessions. It's definitely going to kick the... I said to the guys last night, I said, I'm ready. I mean, what for? I said, for the lake to kick the shit out of me. It's not, like I say, it's not a style of fishing I've really done before, and big lakes can be brutal, brutal. And on that note, I've just found myself this nice little nest here, bent them trees back. I've got some nice roots all the way up these trees, which are giving me a good bit of wind shelter from the north. It's always good. And I've got more of them from the south. West ain't too bad. A few little breaks through there, but generally pretty good wind break So all I've got to worry about is an easterly in my face. So hopefully we won't get any easterlies this week. But yeah, this will do me. Nice little nest. Normally I want to see as much of the lake as possible so I can actually, you know, get a chance of seeing fish, but I think the chances of seeing fish probably fairly slim, but obviously we'll be sitting out there watching as well. So yeah, this will do me. Let's get nesting. I reckon there's a storm brewing there, Gav.
I don't think you're wrong there, mate. Look at the old pike anglers, they're all moving pretty sharpish.
There's loads of them out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And these guys' rod pod's just been taken over. They ain't even got up yet.
Then look this side where we are, it's like a different country.
Not for long, mate. There's a storm a brewing. Right, well, the camp is taking shape. We've got our bivvies up, we've got our rods set up, ready to go. I've borrowed some reels off of Gav, amongst various other bits, because yeah, there was a few bits I didn't have for the job, and luckily Gav either had spares or was able to borrow some off friends, so yeah, quite lucky on that front. So, it's blowing a hoolie out there. It is a mad old place. This is definitely extreme carp fishing at its best. I think it's actually too choppy for us to go out and have a look around with the echo sounder at the moment. There's some Dutch guys turned up a couple of hours ago, and well, they had an absolute mare coming across. I think literally the waves were splashing into the boat so much the boat was going to sink, and they had to actually dump some stuff overboard. Bit naughty really, isn't it? Losing a battery, but if it's a battery or your life, I guess the battery's got to go. But yeah, they made it over somehow, and they're set up behind us here. So anyway, right, like I say, I think to go out and have a proper good look about, it's just not going to happen in this weather. So what we've got is we've got about 50 yards of shallow in front of us, and then it drops off. And I've actually measured that out on one of my apps where you can see where the water level's a lot lower, and it goes into the deeper water. So it's literally from the edge of the water here, it's about 50 yards. And all the water in between here and there is super coloured. And you can imagine that sort of line being a good patrol route where it just drops off a bit deeper. Like I say, we've got this shallower point to our right, so if they were coming round on that sort of line around there, or we're coming out of this bay to our left here, you can imagine them using that sort of patrol route. So I'm actually quite happy to just fling a few rods out on that line and just scatter, you know, a couple of 100 boilies over the top, see how that goes for the night. Obviously, hopefully tomorrow it'll be a bit calmer and we can get out and find some better spots. But like I say, I think fishing like that, if they do come through, I'd say we've got a chance. So yeah, it's cool. It's a buzz being here, to be honest with you. And yeah, I won't lie, I definitely feel out of my depth, but that's quite cool, isn't it? You know, they say life begins at the end of your comfort zone, and that's probably where I am right now. The last time I was really at the end of my comfort zone, I was in the Amazon rainforest with a shaman sort of sucking at my forehead and then coughing up like he'd just coughed the worst thing he could possibly suck out of me. Some sort of evil spirit or something. Anyway, like I say, I have tied up 3 rigs ready to go. I've gone very simple, similar to the sort of bag setup I use where it comes off the actual eye rather than further off the shank, which makes the point of the hook heavy, and then a little bit of shrink tube on there. And I've gone for short rigs. These fish, obviously they're not going to be particularly riggy fish, but apparently they've got super tough mouths, so I want that 10-ounce lead to come into play as soon as possible. So from the hook point to the loop, I'd say it's literally about 5 inches. And I've got a variety of different hook baits which I'll put onto these. On this one I've got a, what's that? I think it's a cell pop-up soaked in the almond goo, and then an 18mm cell bottom bait on there. So yeah, a little selection of hook baits. But honestly, I think I could probably just put all identical baits on and still feel the same sort of confidence that if one of these fish does come along, then they're going to have it. I don't want to fish over loads of bait, because I do feel like, you know, you're just fishing for the odd few fish that are going to be patrolling through here potentially. And the guys that were here last week, they only had 2 fish, I think between 4 of them. in the whole week. I think the biggest was 20 kilos. So, you know, if we get a bite each, we've done well. But you just never know what might come through the area, through the zone. I think this weather's definitely going to help us. So, enough rattling on for now. Let's think about getting some rigs in the pond. Well, that storm kind of kicked off a little bit, but I'm sure that was just a wee little taster of what you can expect on these kind of places. Once it cleared, I had a good old lead around out there. And there's quite a lot of low-lying weed, and then there's mud, and you know, if you look along this margin here, you've got strips. The strips of like shingle, broken shells, strips of clay, strips of mud, you know, much softer areas, firmer areas, and it's going to be exactly the same out there. And it was a bit tricky to try and find one of these sort of smoother areas, but after probably, I don't know, 60 odd casts, I did. It's probably about 10 foot wide, get a nice smooth pullback, and then it hits low-lying weed again. Now we're running out of light for this evening, so I haven't managed to get out there and locate some good spots with the echo sounder, so I'm going back to traditional old school tactics for tonight. But like I say, you know, I can imagine them moving through at that sort of range if they were coming past this area. So, you know, there's probably quite a lot of stragglers that drift around the lake as well, so I'm sure if you're just fishing for a bite, you know, rather than over loads of bait, then if one or two of them fish come along, then you've got a chance, you know. Obviously it's the first night and there's probably people watching this thinking he ain't got a chance. But you've got to stay confident, haven't you? And you can only do what you know as well. And so this is a little bit out of my comfort zone. So yeah, we'll do this for tonight, and then tomorrow, hopefully if it's a bit calmer, I can get out there, check out what the bottom's like with the echo sounder, see if there's anything I can find that's worth fishing to. But for now, let's get 2 or 3 rods, well probably 3 rods out on this strip, and then I'm actually going to get the old spod rod out and just put probably, I don't know, 100 baits along there in a line, just sort of doof, so just a bit of scattering. I didn't bring the throwing stick unfortunately, otherwise I would have just popped them out with that. But then again, it's only 18.5 wraps, I reckon with a catapult I could probably do that. So yeah, let's get this one out there and then get a little bit of bait out there and time to eat, because we're not really eating much today. Time to kick back a little bit. It's been it's been a busy old strenuous day. Right, let's get you out there. Well, Gav reckons it's even more of a piss take that I'm going to put my bait out with a catapult. But why not? Throwing stick would have been better. Captain Pugwash in full force. So I'm just heading out from our bank, probably about 160, 170 yards out now. It's down sort of 4.4 metres, but it's just been a real sort of gradual, slow slope. Oh yeah, I was kind of hoping somewhere out here we might come across some fish. I think this bit of water out in front to our left all looks fairly barren, but obviously there is some sort of channel that runs through here somewhere, I guess, some sort of like original stream bed or river bed, so hopefully we might find something of interest. As I say, this kind of fishing, it's all very new to me. The only time I've been on one of these lakes doing this kind of thing was 18 years ago now, and that's actually how I met Gav, because he came with me and Daryl, Mr. Peck, as our helper, and yeah, we fished the World Carp Classic on the Orient, which is obviously another one of these really big waters, and there we were completely out of our depth. Ali, it was when I worked for Corda, and Ali had blagged us all like GPS, echo sounders, and all the equipment we needed really, boats. And yeah, basically none of us could even work out how to use the GPS on the echo sound. We just ended up relying on H-blocks, which there's another story related to actually, because on the third night in we thought, do you know what, chance of us catching anything is pretty slim. We might as well have a few beers tonight. So yeah, we've had a couple of crates of beers, and then at about, I think it was about midnight, a little wind started to get up and it started to get a bit more overcast, and there was a little bit of drizzle in the air, and we were like, oh, that's it. Feels a little bit carpy now, doesn't it? And with that, Darryl had a drop back, and I think it turned out to be a tench. And then it was, obviously we were a bit battered, and we were, I can't be going out in a boat now, can we? Like, we'll leave that rod in for now. And then he had another bite on his other rod, because I think we were only using 2 rods each. And I think that turned out to be some sort of hybrid or something. So then we're like, right, well, with 50% of the rods down, we've got to get these rods back out there. So me and Darryl went out in a boat, which we weren't supposed to do. It was meant to be one angler and one helper at a time, so the one angler was always on the rods. But Gav bottled it. He didn't want to go out in a boat because it was getting a little bit choppy and it was dark, and we'd had a few beers and whatever. So yeah, me and Darryl went out and we spent ages trying to find these marker floats, H-blocks. Like, once you get out a couple of 100 metres on these kind of lakes, you just, it's very hard to get your bearings, especially in the dark. So yeah, we were literally on the phone to Gav. It was on the bank, like a couple of 100 metres in. Gav's standing out in the water in his waders for some reason, but yeah, directing us on the phone. No, yeah, I think you need to be left a bit. No, I think you need to be a little bit more right than that. Anyway, literally, I think it took us probably like 40 minutes or something to find these H-blocks. And it cost me about 80 quid in phone calls. But the funny thing was, in the morning when we woke up and it was daylight, we got out and looked at our lines, and Darryl's 2 rods were going straight over to my H-block. So it wasn't even the right one. So yeah, as I say, my skills or experience in this kind of fishing is very limited, and to me this just feels like I'm out in the ocean, and this echo sounder's not telling me much at all, other than it's 7 metres deep and flat as a pancake out here, and quite soft in the bottom by the looks of it as well. So I suppose it's telling me a few things. But yeah, we'll just keep sort of poodling her out, really. I don't really want to be more than about 300 or 400 yards out, if I can help it, because I just don't like the idea of all this crazy distance. Like Gav's talking about having to put 2 spools on to fish that spot out there, and obviously to do that you've got to drop the rod, haven't you? And then when the line's running out, you've got to swap a spool over and put another spool on. Then if you get a bite, you've got to repeat the process the other way on the way in. So I think I'd just rather try and catch them a bit closer in if I can. Like I say, it just all seems pretty flat out here. At least where I'm fishing at the moment, you know, there's that kind of little drop off, and it's kind of like, I can imagine if they're, you know, sort of patrolling around closer to the bank, then that's this kind of line they're going to be on. But I do kind of quite like the idea of getting finding something out here and getting a bit of bait on it. I reckon 2 rods over a bit of bait and 2 fishing for a bite seems to be a good plan of attack. Anyway, I've rabbited on for enough now. I need to focus on what I'm doing, so I'll catch up in a little bit and I'll let you know what's occurring. Well, tidy. Look at that. Magic. Sac magique. Well, this is pretty bloody glorious, isn't it? Look. Hey? Lovely. Bloody jubbly. Should have bought a glass of Chateau Neuf de Pape out here with me. Well, talk about an atmospheric evening. Over the back there we've got the dregs of a double rainbow which has been up here for blooming ages. It was probably out for at least 30-35 minutes. And then behind us, on the other side of this point, we've got an epic sunset going on. So yeah, mega bit of scenery. I love these big open flat skies, you know, where you can just see everything around you. But yeah, in fact, that sunset looks mega. I'm going to go and get a front row seat for that in a second. But yeah, rods are out. I've got 2 in the deeper channel. Bit of bait, not loads, probably a couple of kilos of boilies and a few kilos of tigers and chopped tigers, spread around quite a big area. Obviously, falling in that sort of depth, you don't really know where it's going to end up, do you? So spread it about a bit, you know you're going to get a good spread within that vicinity. And then out to the right, I dropped an H block where I saw a few fish show up on the echo. There was literally nothing else to go on out there. It just all very sort of slow decline in depth and nothing that stuck out. No weed, no snags, no tree stumps or anything. So when I saw that, I thought, well, when you've got nothing, something is everything. And yeah, again, well, actually not again, because I put even less bait on that spot. Literally a few handfuls of boilies and a few handfuls of that mix. So fishing for a bite. There's potentially carp over 100 pound in here, which is quite a scary thought. I don't know how I'd manage to lift such a Leviathan, but I'd certainly have a good go. Right, I've had a headache all day. I think I've been eating too much cheese again, but yeah, it's not pleasant. So we're gonna have some food, gonna watch the last bit of that sunset and chill, relax, and have an early night, I reckon, because I haven't had a proper, solid, good sleep since I've been here, well, since the last few nights, so hopefully tonight will be the one. Although actually I don't want a solid night's sleep, I want one of these, or all of these, to absolutely tear off in the middle of the night and me to be towed around out there by an absolute monster. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Well, I had my little wish on the rainbow, which is actually still just about there. And yeah, my wish was for an absolute chunk. So let's see if it provides. Enough of me rattling on. Time to chill. Still in the mud. Oh. Oh no, you're not putting your heads on. Oh dear. Come to Shanty, he said. Wow, it's been an absolutely glorious morning at Lac du Deux. Lovely sunrise. In the night, beautiful starry sky. You can even see the Milky Way above us as well. So yeah, lovely times. And this morning, loads of mist rolling across the lake. It's funny actually because it was coming from that reserve over there through the gap in little sections, and then as it got to the other side there, it was kind of building up again. It was really quite crazy to watch. But yeah, nothing on the old fish front yet. However, Gav has just had a tench. Yeah, he went to land it without his waders on and unhooked it with his wellies and basically ended up flopping in the mud, which is quite amusing, but I shouldn't laugh too much or I'll probably going to end up suffering the same sort of fate at some point during the week. But yeah, it's looking good. The wind's changing every day, so that's got to help us, hasn't it? You'd think that would help shift the fish about a little bit and give us a chance of some passing through this section at some point. But we've got quite a few areas covered now, so the rods are well spread. And yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah, it is obviously, you know, it is a hard lake and it is sort of extreme fishing. I was speaking to my girlfriend the other night and she was saying, why do you think people kind of put themselves through such torture? And you know, you sort of think back, sort of, you know, sort of from the primordial, it's some sort of instinct that's in us. I guess, you know, before the modern age, life was pretty hard and quite testing, and these days, in comparison, life's quite easy, isn't it? So maybe we just like to, push ourselves through these challenging conditions to try and get some sort of result. But yeah, we are definitely a bit cuckoo. Spend all this money to come out here and go through, well, all the mud and the weather and everything else, you know, just to try and catch a fish. We are crazy people as carp fishermen. But if one of these goes and we catch an absolute whacker, we are just going to be like kids. I can imagine it just being complete panic stations when one of these rods goes, especially if it's in the middle of the night. And I'm confident we're going to catch something. We've still got, what we got, 5 nights ahead of us? Yeah, loads of time. But yeah, obviously Gav's been here a few times in the past, so it'd be good to have a little chat with him. So at some point today we'll sit down and chew the fat, pick his brains and hear a few of his stories. But in the meantime, I'm just going to sit back and dare one of these rods to go. Go on, I'll double dare you. Well, you join us on the banks of the famous Carp Mecca Lac du Dour for tench angle.
It does feel like a tench, but you never know, could be just swimming towards us very fast. Feels weightier than the last one.
He's trying to convince himself.
Just trying to stay out the sticky mud so I don't fall over again. The water is dropping rapidly, so that was a 2 metre deep spot. By looking at what the water's gone, that's probably about 1.5 metres now already. Potential.
Double figure tench.
It does feel big. Right, I'm not going to do the same thing this time. There's a fucking another monster the size of that. Fucking size of that one. Going for the adrenaline cup, and I just need a monster reel, monster bream, monster roach. Left you hanging.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mon ami. Day four. We've just done night number 4, yeah. And I won't lie to you, yesterday I was getting a little bit beaten up. The mud is just like constant, it's relentless, in and out of there. You're trying to find spots and you're just getting blown around, you know, you put your H block in and then sort of donking around it, and next thing you know you're 30 yards away from that. And yeah, it is hard work, I won't lie to you. This is something that you need to get a lot of practice at to be good at. And like yesterday, just because I had no faith in anything I was doing, you know, the areas I was fishing at range, or the wind, you know, massive bone of line, I was sure them leads must be getting dragged into the mud, and just fishing out there in the abyss as well. I just sat there and thought, you know what, I just don't feel that confident. I said to Gav, I'd feel more confident fishing this closer in line that I found that first day. You know, just put all 4 of them there, because I just think, you know, where the water level's dropping so much, there's a lot of natural food that suddenly had to get forced back, you know, into off the margins and into the lake. And then there's been a lot of rough weather as well, so you think, you know, that's all getting blown around. Basically, I come to the conclusion that there must be more natural food closer in than there is out there, because there's no weed beds out there's no like stumps or anything that you can see or find, or just all seems very flat. So anyway, I was a bit burnt out last night, and I thought I had an occurrence on my right hand rod. Just sort of the tip pulled down and it pulled out of the clip, and I was stood next to it, so I just struck into it. And then I went to put it back out, and I just thought, oh, do you know what, I'm just going to leave it in for tonight. And then Gav went and put one of his rods out sort of a bit later on into darkness, and yeah, like I say, we ended up having a couple of cups of wine last night, sort of drowned my sorrows, and I was whinging at Gav like, this sort of fishing is just insanity, why do you do it, you're mad. And yeah, went to bed feeling not at all confident, but then 4:30 in the morning I woke up to a couple of bleeps on my alarm, the one that's further down there, and then a couple more bleeps. I thought, right, so I was just getting my waders on, and then Gav's had a single bleep and it lit my whole bivvy up. I thought, blimey, these LEDs are bright, aren't they? Anyway, next thing you know, Gav's rod's gone, whee, you know, that weren't no tench. And yeah, he's had a good scrap with it. And so it's like 4:30 in the morning in the darkness. It's all panic stations. I was like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And yeah, anyway, without too much fuss, he got it in the net from the bank, and he's got himself a lovely 40-pound common. So yeah, we've just been messing about getting the rods back out. I've pulled in the one from range now, and yeah, I'm gonna put them all out along this shorter line. Well, I say I've got 2. I'm gonna have 3 on the shorter line, and one's a little bit further out. It's probably about 150 yards or something like that, in about 15 foot of water on a nice firm area. But yeah, just a few handfuls of bait, just fishing for a bite. But the uncatchable have suddenly become catchable, you know. It's like, oh, there is a chance after all. I just had no faith in anything I was doing and in the area we were in and everything else. But Gav just kept saying, no, mate, no, there'll be fish here, you know, we've just got to keep at it. And fair play to him, he's had one. So yeah, we're going to have a cup of tea, I reckon, and then the light's got a bit better now. So we'll have a look at his prize. Awesome stuff. Yes, yes, yes. He's only gone and done it. Go on, Gav. Chunk, mate. Good angling. What'd you have it on?
Mate. What, bait-wise?
Yeah.
Atlantic Heat wafter with a homemade squid white topper. Yeah.
New spot, no marker float.
Yeah, pub chuck.
It's a great sign though, isn't it, mate? Well, look at that. Sadly, no joy for us last night, but the Dutch boys pulled it out of the bag. 20 kilos. These boys have been fishing here for 20 years now, yeah? More than 20 years. Mind your shadow. Well, as you can see, this is an absolute ball buster. So, yeah, basically, if you ever thought about coming to Lac de Deux, get your head tested first. I just can't get enough. 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 To get enough. You lot who do this kind of fishing, you're absolute blooming lunatics. But I respect you highly. This episode of Carp Angle was brought to you in association with absolutely no one. For more information, inspiration and entertainment, subscribe at carpangle.tv for just $3.99.